I teach a very basic beginner's vinyasa hatha class for students who have some mobility issues, a lot of hip and back injuries, and we found it a little easier to modify using moon salutations instead of the sun salutations. They gave us a little bit more room for extra moves to get up and down off of the floor, and we found a lot of improvements in daily lives getting up and down off the floor. So I wanted to share this with you. We're going to come to the front of the mat and just take a second with your hands in Anjali Mudra, prayer position at the heart, eyes closed, head tipped, letting your mind sink down into the inner sanctuary of your heart, setting your intentions for your practice. Starting your Ujjayi breath, inhaling in through the nostrils and out through the nostrils, constricting the glottis, making a ha sound as you breathe out. We're going to open our eyes and come into mountain pose. So make sure you're in alignment. You want your feet underneath your hips and your knees pointing between your big and your second toe. Arms out to the side, palms wide. Inhaling up, reaching for the sky, palms coming close together, shoulders out of the ears. Swan dive, forward fold, hanging from the hips. Inhaling halfway up, spreading across the clavicle. Exhaling, forward fold, releasing lower back, upper back, and neck. We're going to step back and down with our right knee to the ground into a modified crescent pose. Inhale up, keeping the shoulders out of the ears. Exhale, palms to the ground, and we step back into downward facing dog, pressing through the palms in a straight line all the way up to the hips. If your knees are still bent here, that's okay. You can pedal or run or dance your dog out, whatever's fun. Getting some movement into those hamstrings to help them loosen up, as well as the Achilles tendon. We're going to bring our knees to the floor and press back tailbone to the floor, forehead to the floor, stretching our arms out in front of us in a child's pose. And inhale, standing on our knees in a little camel, arms coming above the head, inhaling as we let the rib cage expand, and exhaling, child's pose back down to the floor, pressing up into our downward facing dog. This time, left knee comes to the floor and right foot steps forward. Inhaling up, keeping that space between the shoulder blades. Exhaling back down, and with as many steps as you need to, we're going to come into our forward fold. Weight on all four corners of the feet, quadriceps pulled up to protect the knees, helping to release the hamstrings. We're going to inhale up, flat back. Exhale all the way down, and we're going to stand tall, arms coming up above the head. Exhaling down and up into Anjali Mudra, prayer position at the heart, into Samasthiti, a place of peace, mountain pose. So go ahead and recheck your alignment, making sure those feet are under the hips and the knees point between that first and second toe. Coming back to the breath, coming back to those intentions you set before practice. Inhaling, arms coming up. Exhaling, swan dive. Inhale, halfway up. Spreading across the clavicle, open heart. Exhale, forward fold. And this time we step back, left knee to the ground. Inhale, up. Modified crescent. Exhale, palms to the ground, and we step back into a downward facing dog. Continuing to work that dog, pressing those heels closer and closer into the ground. We're going to lower our knees to the floor and sit back into child's pose. Inhaling on the knees into little camel, keeping the arch out of the lower back for now. Exhaling down into child's pose. Pressing back into downward facing dog. We bring the right knee to the floor and the left foot forward to inhale up into modified crescent. Exhale, hands to the floor. With as many steps as you need to, step into forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, standing tall, reaching all the way to the sky. Palms coming together, and then releasing down and up into Anjali Mudra. Prayer position at the heart. Into Samasthiti, a place of peace. Mountain pose. Come back to the breath. Come back to your intentions. Reset your alignment. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold, releasing from the lower back to the tip of the head, hanging from the hips. Stepping back with the right knee to the ground. Inhaling up into modified crescent pose. Exhaling, palms to the ground and stepping back into downward facing dog. Knees come down to the floor and we press back into child's pose. Inhaling, standing on the knees, arms coming up above the head, palms coming as close together as is comfortable. Exhaling back down into child's pose. And press up into downward facing dog. Left knee comes to the floor and we step forward with the right foot. Inhaling up, keeping the shoulders out of the ears. Exhaling, palms to the floor and stepping forward with as many steps as you need to into our forward fold. Hanging from our hips. We inhale, halfway up, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, standing tall, arms reaching all the way up. And exhale, arms down and up into Anjali Mudra. Prayer position at the heart, into Samasthiti, a place of peace. Mountain pose. One more time on the other side. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Stepping back with the left knee to the ground. Inhaling, coming up into modified crescent pose. Exhaling, palms to the floor and stepping back into downward facing dog. Knees come to the ground and push back into child's pose. Tailbone to the floor, forehead to the floor. Stretching through the arms, pressing through the palms. Same arm position as you use in your downward facing dog. Inhaling on the knees to come up into little camel. Exhaling back down into child's pose. And pressing up into downward facing dog. Right knee comes to the floor and left foot comes forward. Inhale up, expanding the rib cage. And exhale, hands to the floor. We step forward as many steps as you need to into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, standing tall. Arms coming to the ceiling. Reaching all the way to the sky. Exhaling, hands down and up into Anjali Mudra. Prayer position at the heart into Salutation, a place of peace. Mountain pose. Coming back to the breath, back to your intentions. Reset your alignment. This is our moon salutation B. We're going to inhale into chair, bringing those thighs as parallel to the floor as possible. Exhale, forward fold, straightening the legs, lifting up on the quadriceps. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold, stepping back with the right knee to the ground. Inhaling up into the modified crescent pose. Exhaling, hands to the ground, pressing back into downward facing dog. Knees come to the floor, pushing back into child's pose. Inhaling up into little camel. Exhaling back down into child's pose. From here, we come forward into a modified plank on our knees and tricep push-up all the way to the ground. Hands in at the lower ribs. Inhaling into cobra. Exhaling down to the floor, pushing back into child's pose. And up into downward facing dog. Left knee comes to the ground, stepping forward with the right foot. Inhale, modified crescent pose. Exhaling, palms to the ground. Stepping forward into forward fold, as many steps as you need to. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Bending the knees to bring them into a right angle so those thighs are as parallel to the floor as possible. Inhaling, stand in chair pose. Straightening the legs to come all the way up. Exhale, arms down and up into Anjali Mudra, prayer position at the heart, into Salutation, a place of peace, mountain pose. Repeating that on the other side. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold, straightening the knees. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Left knee comes back and down. Inhale, up. Modified crescent. Exhale, hands come to the ground. Stepping back into downward facing dog. Knees come to the ground, pressing back into child's pose. Inhale, little camel, standing on our knees, arms reaching up, palms coming as close together as is comfortable. Exhaling back down into child's pose. Come forward into modified plank on your knees. And all the way down, tricep push-up. So that we can inhale, little cobra. Exhale to the floor and press back into child's pose. Up into downward facing dog. Right knee comes to the floor, left foot steps forward. Inhale, up, modified crescent pose, keeping those shoulders out of the ears. Exhale, palms to the ground, stepping forward with as many steps as you need to into forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Bending the knees to bring them into a right angle, those thighs as parallel to the ground as possible. Inhale, up into chair pose. Straightening the legs to come all the way up. Exhale, arms down and up into Anjali Mudra, prayer position at the heart, into Samasthiti, a place of peace, mountain pose. Every time you come into mountain pose, come back to the breath. Give yourself space to come back to your intentions. Reset your alignment to repeat the sequence. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Pulling up on those quadriceps, releasing the hamstrings. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Right knee comes back and down. Inhale, up, modified crescent. Exhale, palms come to the ground, step back into downward facing dog. Knees come to the floor. Tailbone presses back and down. Forehead to the floor and palms pressing in. Forearms turned in. Upper arms turned out, keeping that space between the shoulder blades. Inhale on the knees to come up into little camel, expanding the rib cage on the inhale, and exhaling back down into child's pose. Come forward into a modified plank on the knees. Exhale, tricep push up all the way to the ground. Inhale, little cobra. Exhale to the ground. Push back into child's pose. And up into downward facing dog. Left knee comes to the floor. Right foot comes forward. Inhale, up, modified crescent pose. Exhale, palms to the ground. Step forward with as many steps as you need to into forward fold, hanging from the hips, releasing lower back, upper back and neck. Inhale, halfway up, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Bending the knees to bring those thighs as parallel to the floor as possible. Inhale into chair pose. Standing tall by straightening the legs. And exhale, arms down and up into Anjali Mudra, prayer position at the heart. Into Samasthiti, a place of peace, mountain pose. Finding the breath. Reminding ourselves of our intentions. Coming back into alignment. Shoulders back, hands spread wide. Hips and knees in alignment with that big and second toe. Inhale into chair pose. Exhale, forward fold, straightening the legs. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Bringing the left knee back and down. Inhale, up into modified crescent pose. Exhale, palms come to the ground, stepping back into downward facing dog. Bringing the knees to the ground, push back into child's pose. Inhale, standing on the knees, and little camel, expanding that rib cage on the inhale, and exhale back down into child's pose. Bring yourself forward into the modified tricep push-up, all the way to the ground. Inhaling up into cobra. Exhaling down to the ground, pushing back into child's pose. And up into downward facing dog. Right knee comes to the ground, left foot comes forward. Inhale, modified crescent pose. Exhale, palms to the ground, step forward, into forward, fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Bending the knees at a right angle to bring those thighs as parallel to the floor as possible. Inhale into chair pose. Straightening the legs to stand tall. Exhale, arms down and up into Anjali Mudra for a position at the heart into Samasthiti, a place of peace. Mountain pose. Continuing the sequence with a modified warrior. Inhale, hands coming above the head. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Stepping back with the right leg a little further this time into runner's lunge. Bringing the knee to the floor, straightening the front leg into a hamstring stretch in half Hanumanasana. Coming forward onto that front leg, opening up and revolved, half crescent pose, chest open, left shoulder rolled back. Exhaling the arm back down, step the left foot back and come into a half side plank, chest open, left shoulder rolled back. If you're comfortable here, you can start to look up. Looking back down, bring that left arm to the ground and step forward with that left leg again. Bringing the right foot forward into a forward fold. We're going to inhale halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Opposite leg comes back this time. So left foot stretches back into a runner's lunge. Bringing the left knee to the ground, straighten the right leg out in front of you. To get into the hamstring a little further. Remember to come to the point of sensation. If you reach pain or strain, back off and then come back to the point of sensation. Coming forward onto that front foot. Left arm to the ground, right arm opens the chest, right shoulder rolls back. Revolved half crescent. Exhaling the right arm back down to the ground. Stepping the right foot back into a modified half plank, side plank. Looking up if it's comfortable and you feel balanced. Exhaling, right arm comes to the ground. Stepping forward with that right foot. Bringing the left foot into the right foot. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Safely come back down to the ground, stepping back and down with the right knee. Coming into tabletop, bring the left knee back and down. We're going to do a few cat-cow. Inhale, cat, bringing the belly button to the spine, pressing through the palms, making sure the palms are underneath the shoulders and the knees are underneath the hips. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Spreading across the clavicle. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Coming back into tabletop. Open the right side up. We're going to thread the needle. Right hand comes underneath the left arm, laying across the shoulder. Stretching the left hand out in front of you. Or you can bring it behind you and around in a bind. Bringing your hand to the inside of the right inner thigh. Left hand comes underneath the left shoulder, helping ourselves back up. We're going to repeat that on the other side. Opening left arm up. Threading the needle. Left hand comes underneath the right arm. Laying across the shoulder, you can stretch that right arm further out in front of you or wrap it around behind you, holding on to the inner left thigh. Bringing the right hand underneath the right shoulder to press yourself back up into tabletop. You can go ahead and come onto your back. Bring the right knee in close to the chest, holding either behind the thigh or around the shin. Releasing the right leg all the way back down. Bring the left knee into the chest, holding behind the thigh or around the shin. Releasing the leg back down. Bring the feet right ankle crosses over the left thigh, making a right angle with the right knee, bringing the left knee in close to the chest, holding behind the left thigh or around the shin. Releasing the left foot back down to the ground, uncrossing the legs and recrossing in the opposite direction. Left ankle crosses over the right thigh, bringing the right knee in close to the chest, threading the arms through, holding behind the thigh or around the shin, wherever you're comfortable. Releasing the right foot back down to the ground. Uncrossing the legs. We're going to come into happy baby before we take our final Shavasana resting pose. Bringing both knees in close to the rib cage underneath the armpits. Holding on to the outside of the feet or around the big toe with our two-piece fingers. Releasing both legs all the way down, bringing the feet mats width apart, letting the thighs roll open at the hips, hands out to the side, away from the body, palms turned up, closing the eyes. Take about 5 to 7 minutes in Shavasana.
Thank you for sharing yoga with me today. Namaste.